Hey guys, Tom Davidson, Landon Hutchison. We're usually doing this on yard work with everybody, but we've got our national partners here from NCSA with Nelson Gord and Steve Goody with Pocket Radar. Today we've got former longtime pit coach Joe Jordano, who's now with IMG down soaking up the sun in Florida while we're all still freezing here. So today we're talking about our national virtual showcase type stuff that we've been pushing out and kind of where the state of baseball is right now from a recruiting standpoint with, the NCAA extending dead periods and the inability to really get on fields. Coach, can you kind of go through, maybe tell us a little bit about, what you were doing right now in a normal year, in a normal situation when you were a head coach at Pitt?
Well, during the spring, this would have been kind of end of season tournament time. But at this point, we would be well into just doing some maintenance with the committed recruits, making sure that they're staying healthy, making sure that all of their specific required paperwork was in for the university. And then, of course, looking for that outlier, a kid that might have slipped through the cracks, might have been maybe made a big jump between last year and his senior year and was still available, and maybe looking to play in a Power 5 conference, opportunity to play early in his career. With those things said, I think that, collectively, at the start of the recruiting season, our focus was more on the junior class and the sophomore class, as well as identifying some of the freshmen that we want to put our eyes on and follow. But at this stage of the game, we would have been in a situation where the majority of our recruiting would be done. And another piece to this, Tom, would be evaluating our draft picks, both from incoming and on our current roster, to see the percentage that they would be at in terms of returning, or if they were inclined to sign professionally. That plays a big factor for a lot of clubs, especially my experience in the ACC and the Big East. In both of those environments, you were facing some top-line talent, so there'd be some changes in your rosters, come draft time. Obviously now, that has dramatically changed, and I don't think anybody really can pinpoint how it's all going to play out in the next few months.
Yeah, I know that's probably something we haven't covered is the draft side of this with that extra year of eligibility from the NCAA. And, we've talked about what's going on. How are these incoming players going to be affected? Should they go the JUCO route, or, what's that senior doing right now that, may have been a bubble kind of guy, but, that's something that these guys are, it kind of feels like it's a work in progress as they figure out what to do for sure.
Well, there's no question that this is an unprecedented time. I was a head coach for my entire career, and I've never seen anything like this. Obviously, being in an academy setting, we have some of the best high school talent kids that are participating in our program, and a lot of just solid ball players. That take advantage of unbelievable facilities and really quality coaches. And when you look at, and this I brought up with our staff about 2 months ago when this all came about, is that junior class that, you always would lose that kid you didn't think you were going to lose, but a scout was in the stands on a day he had a great day, and he's shown that he would sign for a plane ticket and $500, and he'd go. and you'd be surprised by that. Well, with the Major League Draft now being 1 through 5, you're looking at, what is that, 300 athletes? I mean, it's no, 150 if it's just drafted players.
Yeah.
30 teams and 5 rounds. I don't know how they're going to do the supplemental rounds or anything like that, and the free agents. But if I'm a really talented player, am I going to sign for $25,000 as a free agent? I mean, your options are very limited, and so not only do you have the extra year of eligibility, you have all of those seniors that would have been gone possibly coming back, the juniors that were draft eligible, maybe not in the top 5 rounds, but in those 15, 16 down, all those guys are probably coming back.
Yeah.
And then you have all of your junior college sophomores that are coming in, as well as the high school stud that's coming into your program. Where are all these people going to go? Right. I mean, listen, at Pitt, I had a 32-man roster day 1 of school for my entire career. I didn't even have the 35. But even the 35 is a lot of players to get at-bats, to get innings, etc. And, who's going to redshirt, which throws the whole equation off. And, how about the preferred walk-ons? Those were the last, 6 or 7 guys on your roster, and those positions are in jeopardy.
Yeah. So you talked about how you figure out where these guys are going to go. So we've been pushing out on the pastime tournaments and Mid-America baseball side, our all scout stuff, to where we can, the last couple of years, we've been trying to get more exposure for those kids in need. And, we've kind of all put our heads together here with NCSA and Pocket Radar with our brands with Pastime and Mid-America, and trying to figure out, how do we help these guys that just lost maybe their junior high school season, their senior high school season, that are unsigned still, and how do we get them the exposure that they need, especially now that they missed those seasons and they can't get on the field, and now we can't even have tournaments until maybe mid-June, late June in some instances. So that's what we're trying to navigate right now. So on our all scout side, we've kind of developed this virtual showcase platform where we're inviting these guys to get some validated readings from Pocket Radar. Go out in your backyard, throw your bullpen, give us the validated readings from the Pocket Radar, or any velo device that we can say, hey, look, this is Timmy, he's an unsigned senior, he's 6'2", 175 pounds, and he's 87, 88, he's unsigned. How do we get him in front of guys? So we want to get these videos captured of these kids, and then ultimately get them on the Pastime and Mid-America website, and then push these guys to NCSA, which is, has a proven record to get these guys looks that they can from college coaches. But, how important do you see that now, where we can't have these events to invite, a Pitt coach to come and watch these guys play, where now you're just stuck at home and you can't see anything except for maybe these videos?
Well, it's a tough question. And, obviously when you can go to an event and you have approximately, 40, 50, 100 coaches at that event, that's maximum exposure. I mean, obviously that is not going to happen now. The suggestion that I would make is, number one, make sure that you have a real evaluation and projection of your skill set. What you don't want to do is be sitting at home thinking, I'm going to play in a Power 5 conference, but I have a Division III skill set. I think you really have to be real. And then you make projections from there. If I really get good, I might project to this level. If I can't, I'll be at this level. Or if I stay the same. or if I just want baseball to be a part of the conversation or part of my collegiate experience, I should say, that's a different level. So when you look at that and you start targeting schools that meet your skill set, your financial situation, your academic situation, your geographical situation, type of college, where is it, what type of campus, and then obviously mutual interest. You could say, hey, listen, I want to go to LSU, but if you haven't had contact with LSU and they haven't had contact with you, it's kind of time to maybe turn the page. So you got to be real, and it's so important now to stay ahead of that curve and make sure you're engaging in that process, because the slots that are hard numbers, maybe not now, because there's no determination on where we're at with roster sizes, etc. But when it does, I can specifically tell you that it's beyond anything we've ever seen, and you have to stay focused and engaged and target those schools very early in the process rather than waiting for that 11th hour opportunity.
Yeah, getting that look, that ability to be seen is definitely shrinking, especially in the tournament space. And you know, that's something that we want to try to help with. I know Nelson had a quick question for you.
I mean, with the roster squeeze, right, with the draft being shortened, a lot of those high school kids that might have planned on going, you know, with all that occurring, do you think that college baseball talent overall will get better? Because, you know, the way I'm seeing it is guys might actually just level down. You were talking about being realistic and realizing, you know, you're not a Power 5 guy. You know, maybe you go from a Power 5 to a mid-major to a high-tier Division 2 or Division 3. So on and so forth. So do you think there'll be a rise in that? And then the second part to that is the role that you're in now. You know, I could see an increase in the number of prep schools that are out there, gap years or fifth years. Have you guys seen an increase in interest in potential enrollments at IMG?
Sure. The first piece to that is, yes, I think what's going to happen is college baseball will get better because of less opportunities for the guys that are on the fringe at the bottom moving up. That's not going to happen. What's happening is that the level of talent up here is going to be coming down. So it's going to squash that lower level kid that might have had a walk-on opportunity to play that is not going to be available. And again, that's just speculative. I'm not saying that that is going to happen, but it just makes common sense that if you have a bowl full of really good college baseball players and you fill it with more, something's going to spill over and somebody is going to be left out. So that is why it's important to re-emphasize, as I just mentioned, to make sure that you're ahead of the curve and making certain that you're engaging in that process and creating dialogue with schools that you may be interested in pursuing. The second part of your question, Nelson, is yes. You know, as a coach for a long time, I was kind of in a neutral position when it came to post-grad or gap year situations. For me, it was, listen, if you have the opportunity to have a position at a four-year school, great. If you have a position or an opportunity at a junior college, great. Because you can, obviously there's benefits to junior college, much less expensive those first 2 years to get all of your core courses done while still developing your athletic skill set, where you need a little bit more maturity, a little bit more physical strength, and to fine tune those skills. So those were two, in my opinion, very good options, including the fact that, while I was at the University of Pittsburgh, there's a misnomer on junior colleges, and maybe it's not fair, because when you go south and towards Texas and Arizona and schools like that, you see an incredible amount of junior college players that are very smart, have good ACT or SAT scores, great high school transcripts, but they went to the junior college because of the fact they didn't have the opportunity that they wanted at a higher level. Whereas in the Northeast, it seems to be kind of this thought that if you weren't prepared academically, you went to a junior college. So that mentality changes in various parts of the country, which brings me to the prep year or the gap year. I would be 100%, in my opinion, if I'm a kid that has really projectable skills and wants to preserve, that year of eligibility, now is the time to consider a prep school or a post-grad program. And we have seen a dramatic increase in the preps or the gap year or the post-grad at IMG. So, we have a great program, and there's a lot of great opportunity there. Again, a guy that coached in the North his entire life, to be on great facilities in the sunshine all year round, with the fact that we're a prep school, so we can train year round, so we don't play for a state championship, so we don't have any of the restrictions, so to speak, for training at certain times, and you obviously have state-of-the-art equipment and facilities, etc. It's an investment, but there's no question in my mind that this is a perfect storm for that kid that is right there and just needs to buy some more time to find that right opportunity, rather than going into a program, junior college program, that maybe he's uncomfortable with, or just taking an offer at a four-year school. And I'm not saying one way or the other is a decision that I would make. I'm saying that I think equal value should be given to the post-grad program if there is uncertainty in terms of where you want to go, and if you feel you have the ability to play at a higher level, maybe a year from now, where that opportunity is not available today.
Coach, I got one question for you.
Good to see you, Coach.
Why is it so important for you when you were recruiting, or for other coaches? You get an email and this kid says, Coach, I'm so-and-so, I throw 88 to 90 miles an hour, and then they send you a video and it has no verifiable data whatsoever. Why is it so important for you to get that verifiable data to know, like, okay, yeah, I want to take the next step and actually pursue this kid because I know that he can actually do this because I've seen it?
It's also a great question. Listen, at the higher levels, obviously, let's look at it from a coaching, a school perspective, and then the athlete's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
The high-end athletes don't need videos. They don't need anything. They're going to be recruited regardless. So we're talking about that kid that's in that mid-range. And quite frankly, same thing on the other side with your, 25 or 30 schools that they don't have to work incredibly hard to get great players because those players are attracted to those programs. Now they have to work on the recruiting. Don't misinterpret that. Everybody works very hard, but there are some advantages on both ends. So if you're a high-level athlete or a high-level program, you're one step ahead of everybody else. The video, in my opinion, will not get you recruited, but the video will allow the coach to make an initial evaluation on your skill set to say, we need to go see this kid. I've always said it that any coach that is in this game, whether they're considered a pitching coach, hitting coach, catching coach, whatever their specialty is, as a college baseball coach, you have to be able to evaluate a skill set. And I can, and I'm sure all of you can as well, and be able to watch a video and see hand-eye coordination, see footwork, see arm angles, see the swing plane, setup, balance, all the things that we need to see in a swing, or fielding a ground ball, or throwing the ground ball, throwing from the outfield, trajectory off the bat, etc. So that allows us to be able to make an initial evaluation. You add to that the verifiable information, and that is another piece to that puzzle. What I mean by that, if I'm watching a kid take ground balls, and I love his actions, really doing a great job, and we have some video from him behind, and you see the trajectory of the ball from shortstop to first base, and it's a dead duck getting over there. We could probably make a pretty good determination. But if it's got a little bit of life to it, now you say, well, across the diamond, I'm 85, 86. Well, that confirms what I'm seeing. I like the athleticism. I like the hand-eye coordination. And I really like, and it's verified, he has some arm strength. Same thing at the plate. Okay, this is why, live video in a game, it doesn't do anything for me. Number one, who are you playing? What's the level of competition? Is a guy throwing, 78, or is he throwing 88? Now, again, a trained eye can see, well, that kid's got a little juice on the ball, but you don't know that. And so if I see a side angle and I see his setup, his load, watch his head, watch everything be connected, see what his hands do, see swing plane, see how he accelerates through the baseball and a good finish. And then you tie in exit velocity, launch angle, things like that. Now, again, I can pair those two together and have a pretty good idea that, hey, this kid's pretty good. So verifiable information is great. But again, you're not going to take that as 100%. You're gonna want to take that next step to say, we got to go see this kid. When I speak, all over the country, I would tell parents that number one, don't send me an email that says the first line is my son. Okay, even if you want to BS me, sign his name. All right, but don't say my son. Number two is make sure that you're doing some research on the school, Okay. And if you do attach that video, I'm not certain that most coaches, especially up and down the spectrum, if there's a video attachment, they're going to watch it, because they don't want to be, well, coach, I sent you that video, my junior year, you never looked at it. And, he's shoving against your team 2 years later. And so you want to click that video. And I think most people do.
Yeah, Coach, before I let you go, you've kind of covered everything that we're trying to do here for sure. Is we want to get these videos out to guys. We want to get verifiable information because we want to get that little peak of interest that we can lay out there for a coach. I think we all know a video is not going to get you recruited by, a Louisville or a Pitt or a Vanderbilt. It might turn an eye if you're on there and you've got some verifiable information and you're 92. Sure. And you've got that. But like you said, it's right now you got to stay ahead of the curve because everybody's getting pinched together right now. And you're fighting not against the guy that's one class above you, but you've got guys 4 classes above you right now that are looking at the same thing. So if we can give a little piece of that and say, look, let's get you the spot where you can pique a little bit of interest here. We know you go to a showcase. Most of them now are on turf. Every ball is right down the middle on BP. Like, we want to be able to pique that interest enough to where I can get a coach to come out and say, I've got to go watch that guy play.
Absolutely.
And that's what's going to sell them because you're not playing showcases when you're playing against an ACC school. You're playing against dudes, and we need to see you play against that kind of competition for sure.
Well,
oh, sorry, Coach.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
I just couldn't resist injecting something here, Coach, because we've heard so much feedback from great coaches like yourself over the years that, and that's why I'm partner with all these great folks here, because our new Smart Coach product, which, stuff moves fast, but it produces videos of the type you're talking about with our velocities actually stitched into the video. So when you're that coach and you click it, there's a verified velocity implicitly in the video. In fact, you may have seen this beast Luke Little out of San Jac down in Texas throwing 105, 102. He's practicing with our gear, and he put those clips up on Twitter, and you can imagine what happened. But now a lot of coaches, they trust our velocities because they own our products over the years, and they know they're accurate. They're more accurate actually than stalker guns. It's one of the best kept secrets about our products. No one knows that, but they're within a mile an hour and they're tight. So when a coach clicks and plays, then it's not the whole story like we're talking about at all, but you see a kid, lighting up the gun, and it's verified in the video, and you watch the mechanics with it. The coaches have told us, well, actually, we built it for you guys. Honestly, that's ABCA and the big crowd of coaches tells us what to build, and that's why we built it. Because you guys said, when I click and play that video, I want to see a verified velocity in there. And so that's why I'm helping these guys out, providing that part of the equation. So that
I think that's very valuable. And, Tom, as I said, just to kind of summarize and maybe put a plug in for IMG. It's such a great program and some great coaches and phenomenal facilities, and from mental development, our APD program, strength and conditioning, nutrition, the academic piece, the quality of the experience is phenomenal. And as our post-grad program continues to grow, the opportunities to develop, if you're a high-end player that wants to just hit the pause button, but not regress in terms of what he's doing, phenomenal opportunity right now.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate everybody jumping on here. Coach, I know it might have taken a little bit more of your time than what we wanted to, but
no problem.
Appreciate you coming on, and then hopefully we get to connect again later and take a couple of rounds on the golf course and play with you a little bit before we get too far away.
Well, I will definitely make that happen. Come up and see you, Coach Vaught and Coach Hutchinson. Sounds like a good Nassau match.
Yes.
There you go. All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, great seeing all you guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Be safe.